Great. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Priya Bhutani. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know many of you are regular attendees, so you might know what RegDesk does. But I wanted to mention that in today's webinar, we wanted to share some important updates that Health Canada has released in the last month. And we have never covered Canada before, so we're very excited to bring our expert from Canada this month. And so before we get started, I do want to talk about what RegDesk does if you're not familiar with us. RegDesk is a regulatory software platform that uses machine learning and artificial intelligence to make global compliance easier and faster. Our platform provides RA teams with comprehensive and updated regulatory intelligence tools to collaborate with local distributors, comprehensive tracking and reporting functionality, and also an ability for teams to prepare their applications through our AI application builder so that they can manage, prepare, and publish international applications within hours. Our approach to regulatory is unique and one that gives our clients a competitive advantage. If you'd like to learn more or try out the system for free, just let us know. We can certainly schedule a separate call to discuss that further. With us today, we have a leading expert from Canada, Anna Subramanian. We're very excited to have her. Anna has more than 14 years of experience evaluating quality management systems and ensuring global regulatory requirements are met for medical device companies, big and small. Anna has extensive knowledge of the Canadian regulations, especially IVDs. She was an auditor for BSI previously, and currently Anna is the Director of Quality Assurance and Regulatory Affairs at Biolytical. So we're very excited. But before we begin our discussion this morning, I'd like to turn our attention to our attendees. Thank you so much for joining us. At the end of this meeting, we'll hold a brief Q&A. We encourage your participation, so please refer to the chat button on your screen. And in the interest of time, please submit your questions throughout the course of our talk, and we'll try to address as many of your questions as we can. And in case we run out of time, please email us your questions and we'll try to address them via email. Also, we'd love to get your feedback on today's webinar and ideas you may have for future webinar topics. But Anna, welcome. It is truly a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Priya. Thank you, Priya. Thank you very much for all the participants joining us today. It's going to be exciting for another 25 minutes to share the recent changes that are happening with the Health Canada regulatory frame.
So starting off, I mean, we always tend to start off at this way, but first of all, for those, there may be participants who may not even know what regulatory changes we're talking about. So are you able to just mention what change Health Canada has released 2 or 3 updates in just the last month? So they've been pretty active. So can you just sort of pinpoint what has changed?
Sure. So Health Canada has published statutory orders and regulation, that is SOR 2022-62, on December 4, 2022. Actually, it happened, published on December 2020 on official newspaper of Government of Canada, that is Canada Gazette. So basically, they want to make a significant amendments to Food and Drug Act as well as Canadian medical device regulations to strengthen the post-market surveillance requirement for medical devices in support of the life cycle amendments. These changes are introduced as a result of the existing Vanessa law. So people who don't know Vanessa law, the Vanessa law basically allows the protecting Canadians from unsafe drug act. This regulation gives the regulator more power now to evaluate and monitor the incidents through post-market surveillance. So these are the critical change that been published in December 2020. We will go more in detail what are those changes very shortly. If you look at the current Canadian medical device regulation that every time we refer to, it is 98282 that been revised 2 times this year. One on March 31st, there was minor changes, and in June 2021, that's the current version right now. If you go down the Canadian medical device regulation and the last page, you would see the amendment not in force. As of now, not in force, but that will be in force very soon. So those changes are total 22 changes. Some of them are like very minor changes, like introduction of definition for who regulatory agencies means what, and then for example, the term called mandatory problem reporting for incident reporting, they're going to change the title to be an incident reporting to be aligned with other regulatory bodies. Those are some of the minor changes. It's not a big deal. You just change it, regulatory vocabularies, those are. But the key critical changes are, I will go directly into that. So this act now, the changes that requires manufacturer or importers to notify Health Canada foreign risk actions that has to be notified within 72 hours. So you may ask, what are foreign risk actions? So the foreign risk actions are public risk communication. Let's say you have a medical device in Canada, the similar medical device being approved in US and Europe and Australia and Brazil. So other regulatory bodies in Canada, other than Canada, if you have a public risk communication, if you have made in US, that Canada want to know within 72 hours. In addition, if you are making a labeling changes, or if FDA requiring you to recall the device due to non-compliance, or you need to do a reassessment of already approved device in other regulatory agencies, or if other regulatory agencies are requiring you to suspend or revoke your authorization due to safety and effectiveness of the medical device, those are all considered as the foreign risk. So now Health Canada requiring such type of foreign risk must be reported to Health Canada within 72 hours, that may be leading to serious risk of injury to human health. That is one of the critical change. So foreign risk notification to Health Canada within 72 hours. And then second requirement, critical change, is the summary report preparation and issue related analysis. So what is summary report preparation? The summary report preparation is nothing but your post-market surveillance. So as a medical device manufacturer, we do the post-market surveillance. Like proactive as well as reactive mode. You collect the feedback once the product is launched. So you will be looking at your internal CAPA system, NCRs, internal audit related finding, all those internal feedback, as well as the external feedback, customer complaints and feedback. And also you will be looking at the literatures, competitors, the incident recall reporting on the regulatory agencies. All this method, you collect the post-market surveillance, right? So similarly, what Health Canada is saying, you're already doing post-market surveillance of aggregate analysis of all the input with respect to your device, safety and effectiveness. So whatever you're doing is correct. Now it is going to be mandatory as per this new regulation. For a class 2 device, you have to do this summary report, issue related analysis every 2 years once. For a class 3 and class 4 device, it must be every year. If you don't know the Health Canada classification, I will just briefly touch upon that. So Health Canada has 4 levels of classification. Class 1 is the lowest one, and class 2 is the low level, and class 3 moderate, and class 4 is the high risk. So the class 4 high risk devices can be, a risk to, public health and community level, and class 3 can be the moderate level to the public and the individual health risk that goes down. So class 4 and class 3 devices, you must do this summary report analysis every year. And for class 2, it has to be once in 24 months, basically. Okay, so even though you do these summary reports, you also must be reporting to Health Canada if you see a change in the benefit and the risk of your device profile. So what does that mean? Let's say your device, when you developed the device, you have said that the projected lifetime of the device is 10 years. Okay, so now you launched the device. After 5 years, you started collecting, getting incident reports quite often rather than what you expected. Now the device benefit did not change because the benefit of the device is whatever the intended use, but the risk has increased because you are getting more incident reporting after 5 years. So this may not be meeting Canadian medical device regulation requirement section 10 to 20, that is safety and effectiveness. So this must be, you will be collecting as part of the summary report. Now this change must be reported to Health Canada. Let's say during your analysis period, if you don't see any risk benefit changes, uh, impact at all, then you don't need to report. So how would you report this summary report? The summary report, generally we have a significant change analysis guidance document from Health Canada, as you all familiar with the class 3, class 4 device. So if you see that during this summary report analysis, there is a significant change to the device you need to make as a result of risk benefit change, then you can select a route to make an amendment to your existing license. That is one of the way. Second, as part of the corrective and preventive action due to the risk benefit change, you may want to initiate a recall. You can submit through a recall, or simply you can submit a summary report to Health Canada. If you go to Health Canada website, there is a guidance document with respect to the summary report preparation and issue related analysis. And the guidance document, there is an email address from Health Canada that you can use to email them the summary report. So there is a second critical change. Third one, for example, a class 1 device. The class 1 device is the low risk device. As of now, you don't need a medical device license, only you need a establishment license. What this regulation requiring, if the minister, he or she come to know there is a reasonable ground that your class 1 device is not meeting safety and effectiveness requirement, then the minister can request the class 1 device manufacturer for a detailed analysis and explanation for the why the device is not meeting the safety and effectiveness requirement. In that case, if the manufacturer of class 1 device were not able to produce that link and support the evidence what the minister is requesting, then the minister has a power to stop selling, revoke the license and make them not to sell in Canada. So overall, these are the main 3 critical changes coming up. So foreign risk notification, summary report preparation, and EC related analysis is for class 2 device, 2 years, class 3 and 4, it's going to be every year. If a benefit and risk changes, then you must report. And class 1 device, they have authority to make the stop selling your device. This is similar to any other devices. If any request coming from Health Canada, you will be always ready to submit them. If you are not able to submit, they have always the rights to revoke your license. So those are some of the critical key changes coming up. So Priya?
Yes. So sorry, I muted myself. But
No worries.
yes. So just to reiterate, so you said the 3 top changes are Vanessa's law order. What the new requirement is that Health Canada now requires for all foreign risk actions. So that meaning anything that is happening, any adverse events that are happening, or if you make any changes to an existing device, whether that's labeling, manufacturer change, any type of change notifications, anything that happens even outside of Canada with another health agency needs to report it to Health Canada within 72 hours. The second is summary reports now. You said class 3 and 4 will require summary reports every year, but class 2 will require it every 2 years. And then you said class 1 devices will be under more scrutiny because if someone files a complaint or anything happens, then Health Canada will ask for more information and you can possibly also get your license revoked. So there's more scrutiny on even class 1 devices.
Yeah, so just to clarify, the summary report, you don't need to report to them unless if there is a change in the benefit and risk of your device. But
Okay.
you have to implement that process. You must perform the summary report analysis.
Okay,
Yeah.
understood. And so these requirements, can you share how they're different than the previous requirements, the existing ones?
So it's always been there. So in another way. So we were requested to submit before the recall reporting from the when we initiate a recall, we need to report within 72 hours. Now they are requesting if similar devices in other markets, if you are initiating a recall that considers a foreign risk, that must be notified also to Health Canada in 72 hours. There is a slight change now. And another significant change would be the summary report. This is similar to the alignment with the European requirements that coming along now. EU MDR that is released in May 26, 2021, and the IVDR that's coming up next year. They are also requiring the similar requirements. So you must have to be submitting the post-market follow-up report based on the risk of the device to the notified body and come and right. Similar one they are also requesting now to Health Canada. They must be reporting this. It's by look of it, they want to align with the global regulatory agencies and making the Canadian public safety and effectiveness health is the number one priority through post marketing.
Okay. And you had mentioned in the beginning that these changes will go into effect later. Does has Health Canada provided have they provided any clarification or any dates as to when these will go into effect?
Yeah, generally, if any regulation published on Canada Gazette Part 2, that will go in effect within 12 months, will come into force. Some of the requirement, like foreign risk notification, is already in force in after the publication of the date. So we know that Canada Gazette, this regulation published on December of 2020, right? So after that, within the 6 months, some of the requirements went on effect. Only the summary report requirement, they were waiting for 12 months to be in effect. Most likely, we would be seeing coming into force this year end.
Understood. And the foreign risk assessment that you have to do,
Mhm.
analysis, where do you is that's an online, so can you provide some additional information as to where one would report that within 72 hours?
So that's one of them. If it's a recall related, you will be submitting summary report. You can just email them, right? The similar way you can notify the foreign risk. For example, if it is a critical change impacting the recall reporting, so we do the recall reporting branches in Canada. Different branches were there in different 5 region type. So for British Columbia, we will be contacting the local branch in Burnaby here in Vancouver. So similarly for Ontario branch, so they have a different branches that we can submit through a recall, similar to what recall notification is done. Uh, so one of the way, or we can also contact the Health Canada. There is in the guidance document, there is an email address. We can notify them. There is a foreign risk, the benefit and risk of the device has changed. Can we select, significant change amendment pathway, or can we submit to a recall pathway? So whatever the manufacturer decides.
And then if you have an importer in Health Canada, because there's no concept of authorized representative, then in
Sure.
that case, do you have to train the importer on this new requirement?
Yes. So that's another clarity I wanted to add here. So for example, manufacturer can also decide importer to submit themselves on behalf of the manufacturer to submit the foreign risk notification or the summary report as well. So in that case, if the manufacturer giving that responsibility to the importer, then the manufacturer have to notify like a letter of authorization to Health Canada saying that the importer will be performing this foreign risk notification as well as the summary report preparation on behalf of them. They have to give the letter of authorization to Health Canada. So it's a coordination between the manufacturer as well as importer uh, to work together and how they want to implement this.
How would you say, or any suggestions on how foreign manufacturers specifically, or even manufacturers in Canada, how can they prepare for this? What would you suggest they should start doing and preparing for these changes? Because this is additional work, and
Mhm.
also they have to keep on top of what, any change notifications happening anywhere in the world, because it all needs to be reported now to Health Canada. So what can they do to, what's your suggestion in how they can prepare?
Sure. So number one, first of all, if you have not done the management review, or if you're going to do a management review, include this as a change, significant impact to your QMS is one of the one. Or you can also include as the recent regulatory changes to bring to your top management that the upcoming regulatory changes happening in Canada. So number one action item. And then the second one, you will be revising your post-market surveillance procedure, or whatever the method you have to evaluate the risk and benefit of your device. Include this Canadian medical device regulation requirement, that upcoming one. You need to notify these requirements to Health Canada if anything changes. And also, this is exactly what we are doing post-market surveillance. The only element is if the risk and benefit changes, we must notify to Health Canada. So I wouldn't say that it's a significant burden on the manufacturer now. Uh, if anything changes, we always do through the amendment or a recall reporting. Um, so that should be implemented even procedure level, as well as you can verify this through your internal audit program, whether this you have done the gap assessment, when are you going to revise your procedure, what are the process you have to notify Health Canada. You can verify that. In addition to that, Health Canada requiring the summary report must be kept, your record retention period for this is 7 years. So if you have not um, made that changes to control of records for based on this regulation, you must want to change that as well, to change to 7 years. So those are the some of the steps I would immediately do that.
We have a few questions. So
Okay.
I want to ask these questions because they're good ones.
Hmm.
One of our participants has asked
Hmm.
regarding change notification, would it be our meaning them as a legal manufacturer's responsibility, or the distributor's responsibility to notify Health Canada within 72 hours? So you talked about that's a
Yeah,
discussion, and they can do it as well.
yeah, they can do it as well, but the legal manufacturer, whomever the address on the label, they are the legal manufacturer, right? So they have to have a letter of authorization submitted to Health Canada saying that the importer slash distributor will have this responsibility for submitting the foreign risk notification, as well as in your quality manual or the procedure related to this process. I will highlight who has what responsibilities. And if you have a distributor agreement, you may want to amend that as well to make sure that this requirement under the distributor responsibility, not on you.
Understood. And then someone asked, can you, so I guess it's not clear, when do they submit the summary report? Is it at the end of the year that the summary report has to be submitted?
If the benefit risk is changing, then I would immediately, every once in a year you have to do. So during that time frame, if you see any changes, immediately I will notify them.
Okay, so
Yeah,
not to wait till the end of the year if there's a change
yeah,
after
it's like,
should summary. Okay.
sure. You schedule a time and you have a post-market surveillance plan right now. So similarly, you add a summary report preparation plan. So the plan will set like, 12 months once you will do. If you're doing like in November, the next in November, you will looking at all the data aggregate analysis of it. And then you would be saying, okay, yes, there is benefit change. Yes, the clinical analysis, what you have performed before has an impact. This must be reported. So then we will immediately report as the action item from the analysis.
Understood. So it is suggested for companies to establish a summary report,
Mhm.
sort of a plan as well, just like they
Yeah,
have post-market
sure.
surveillance plan.
Plan.
And this is something I would imagine for during an audit. Can an auditor come in and ask, what is your summary report plan?
Yeah, sure. Because how often, how they will verify, right? Every 12 months once you're going to do. So the plan is the best way to establish the connection. You have a recurring plan, or you can put in your procedure as well. If this year, if an auditor is looking at this your QMS, they can ask like, did you discuss all these changes in the management review? Well, what is your plan? Did you do a gap assessment with your existing procedure? For example, class 2 device manufacturer may not be knowing this, right? So 24 months once they have to do. There is no class 4 and class 3. They kind of sort of doing this post-market in a annual basis. But I'm not sure about the class 2 manufacturer, so that this will have an impact on them.
Understood. So it'll have a bigger impact on class 2
Yeah.
manufacturers because they're not used to this, but 3 and 4 have been doing annual post-market surveillance. So it's suggested that have a summary report plan, add that to your QMS because
Yes.
an auditor can come audit and ask, what is your summary report plan? And
Yeah.
for class 2 devices, every 2 years, only if the risk benefit changes, which means that in order to prove that, then you have to do your clinical assessment
And
every year. Is that right?
yes.
Okay.
Actually, the post-market surveillance, when you do that, the conclusion of it, you're going to look at the existing risk management file and report. Is there a new risk or new hazard identified? Then you will go ahead and update your risk management file, as well as you will be preparing clinical evaluation report based on a literature, or you may have conducted the performance study during the clinical trial. And then you see if there is any impact, you may go ahead and update your clinical evaluation report as well. That we all do for the EU, European requirement. So similarly, if anything you are changing there, or example, you wanted to change the labeling intended use or add more clarity to the label based on the risk you have identified, like a warning symbol or something, then you might want to notify Health Canada on that.
Okay. And then last question, is this new regulation, has it been added to the current MD SAP audit model?
Not yet, but they can look at the Canadian medical device regulation, right? So this regulation is, as of now, the current medical device regulation, Canadian CMDR, these are the changes are listed as not in force, but it will be coming soon. Yeah. So during the MD SAP audit, they can ask you, hey, during the, post-market surveillance aspect, or during the chapter 2 device registration and listing, the task 3, the changes impact, they can also look at it. Okay, so do you consider in your procedure all these changes, that upcoming changes been, you have a plan, at least not yet amended your procedure, but at least you should show them some plan.
Okay. Thank you so much. And you said these changes have been released, and we can share the documents. We'll share some information with our participants. But Anna, thank you so much, and to all our participants, thank you so much for joining us. And to our participants, we look forward to our next webinar. And Anna, once again, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Priya. Thank you very much for everybody. So have a good day.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye-bye.